The South African Revenue Service saying it's collected 2.15 trillion rand in gross tax revenue for the 2023-24 financial year. Now, SARS saying net revenue collections, which represent revenue collections after tax refunds, have been paid out, amounts to 1.74 trillion rand. SARS Commissioner Kieswetter says the net revenue collections are 10 billion rand more than what government had projected during the February budget. And of course, Kieswetter was presenting the preliminary revenue outcomes for the financial year 2023-24 in Pretoria this afternoon. And we speak now to the Commissioner who joins us live now. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. You must be a happy man.
I'm happy that under very challenging circumstances, we were able to deliver a very pleasing result.
And I suppose then for you, especially when you look at how challenging the times were, what would you attribute, this particular achievement to? Because it also speaks to the work that is also being done at SARS.
And you've hit the nail on the head. You know, Bongiwe, when economic times are tough, generally taxpayers find it harder to settle outstanding debt. They're not disputing the debt. They just don't have the means to honor that debt. But in addition to that, we also find some taxpayers tend to fiddle with their taxes. And in particular, one of the concerns we have is that we've seen a proliferation of attempts to defraud the refund system. One of the things that really is paying off is the work that we have done in data science and artificial intelligence to help us detect the attempts against our refund system. To give you a sense of what that means, that we have, in the year that has passed, we have had to deal with almost 15 million returns, and 1.77% of them, 1.77 million of them were selected for further verification. We have about 560 staff who does this work. Just that work has detected 95 billion rand of fraud that would have paid out in refunds had we not detected it. In terms of debt, we have increased our focus on debt. We use also debt propensity modeling using data science in order to target debt that is collectible. This year, we have been able to resolve over 2.6 million cases, and that has yielded 91.5 billion rand. So it's not one big thing. It's doing many little things, but doing it consistently and doing it efficiently that has added another 294 billion rand of compliance revenue that would otherwise have not ended up in the fiscus.
And I suppose at the same time, it also then speaks to one of the issues that would have been, quite big, especially when you think about the compounding impact that, COVID-19 would have had on SMMEs, as well as the load shedding crisis as well. And you think about the rising cost of living, but now seeing that some of the SMMEs who are cash strapped could have also then benefited from some of the refunds in order to be able to, make ends meet.
We're really pleased at the refunds that we are able to pay out. And that we have seen was 414 billion, and it's 8.6% up from prior year. We are particularly encouraged that 120 billion of that were able to go to small and medium businesses, and 37 billion to individuals. The concern we have is that we have to balance the efficient resolving of outstanding queries so that we can pay out the refunds to taxpayers. We have to balance that with the previous risk of fraud that I pointed out.
Yeah.
I think at the fact that we're able to still collect 95 billion rand from refund fraud risk detection is supporting the fact that we probably have the balance just about right.
And how are we doing in terms of filling the tax gap that Treasury is concerned about, especially when it comes to meeting the country's needs?
Well, we are more concerned about the tax cap than anyone else. We continuously point out to Treasury that we need to ensure the appropriate funding of SARS because it is that additional funding that drives the amount of compliance work that we can do. At the moment, there's so much more work we can do, but we are constrained by the current level of resources. To give you an example, towards the end of last year, we asked for an additional R1 billion, which the Minister of Finance kindly approved. We were able in the last quarter of this year to deploy about half of that, about 460 million rand, in a ring-fenced project to do additional verifications, collect additional debt. Just that piece of work has resulted in an additional amount of 10 billion that would not have been in the fiscus. So we are pleased that the work we have done has in fact exceeded the revised estimate by just about 10 billion rand as well.
And speaking about work, that is being done as well. I mean, there is still that issue of grey listing that is still top of mind for some. How much work has gone in towards that and ensuring that we come off that list come next year?
We have to do a lot more work. FATF is very clear that if we cannot demonstrate that as a country, we can deliver successful convictions in crimes such as serious tax evasion, money laundering, and terror financing, we will not come off the grey list. In order to deal with those kinds of crimes, we cannot do it single entity. We have to do it as a whole of government. And that's where we sometimes can do significantly better than we are doing at the moment. We have improved our relationship with the NPA and the Hawks, but we simply are not doing enough to advance those cases. They're complex cases. They are often cross-border crime. They are syndicated. They are enabled with political officials and public officials elected and appointed, and they are enabled by professional enablers, financial institutions. So these are complex matters, and it takes time. But we really need to be more concerted in our effort as the whole of government to ensure that these criminals are brought to book. So otherwise, we will not come.
Pardon me, Commissioner. Given what you're saying, then, how confident are you as government, as a collective, as you say, that will come off this list then come next year?
Look, I think under the leadership of Treasury, there's a lot of work that's taking place. We are making progress. We have already made some progress, but there's a number of key issues such as money laundering, terror financing, and the of NPOs that, according to the feedback we got, remains areas where we need to do a lot more work, and that's work that requires a whole of government approach. There's no single outstanding action against SARS, but SARS is part of the whole of government, and therefore we will work with the rest of our colleagues to ensure that we do enough work so that when the review does take place, we can be considered for the removal from the grey list. But FATF is very clear, and their criteria are very objective.
Commissioner, thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it this afternoon. That was Edward Kieswetter, SARS Commissioner.